what I want to share with you all today is essentially something that people can't help saying yes to. Something where you have a queue of your ideal clients lining up to do work with you, and you've got more inquiries than you can handle. So tell me, how many of these things right now resonate with you? So if you get most of your work from word of mouth and referrals, if you ever sit there kind of worrying that you maybe don't have enough work or don't have enough opportunities, if you sometimes say yes to projects that aren't the best fit because maybe you're worried that there's not enough work out there, or when you do go after work, you kind of feel salesy or spammy. So let's just talk about these a little bit. If you get your work from word of mouth and referrals right now, that's a good thing because it means that you're good at what you do and lots of people know that because they want to tell other people that you're good, right? That's awesome. What are some of the disadvantages of getting your work from referrals and word of mouth? It's not plannable, or not predictable, a little bit volatile. Clients aren't always the right fit. You run out, so your network's small, you run out of people that you know. You rely on those mercy of referrals, 100%, right? And so if that's the case, what happens when we worry that we don't have enough work? What do? We usually do the next thing, right? We usually say yes to stuff that maybe isn't our ideal client. And what does that lead to eventually? If we start taking work that's like less than ideal. Lower value, not ideal. Frustration. We burn out, right? Absolutely. And we don't deliver the best value to our clients, right? Because there's probably 2 or 3 like amazing clients that deserve our attention, and we're running around trying to fight fires and not being able to scale 100%. There's kind of some hard truths that we all need to just level with at the moment. The first one is that word of mouth just is unpredictable, right? We can't rely on word of mouth to grow our business. And when we say yes to projects that aren't 100% good fit, it actually damages our business. And so what I want everyone here to get is, no matter where you are in your business, or no matter what level of kind of leads and inbound inquiries or opportunities you feel you have right now, there's one truth that you need to really make peace with. And that is that every time you say yes to something, you say no to something else. You might not realize you're saying no to it, but by default, you are saying no to something else, right? Every time you say yes to a project, you are saying no to another opportunity that is out there. And the final thing that I just really want to put is that your work alone, unfortunately, isn't enough. When you're at this stage of business, it isn't enough to consistently grow your business and attract your ideal clients. It would be nice if it was. And I think as creatives, we all wish that our work alone would speak for itself. But unfortunately, it's just not the case, right? And I think you've probably all experienced that. So what would be different in your business if you had a predictable way to generate leads or generate new inquiries, and you had more opportunity than you actually knew what to do with? What would be different if some of these things written down here were true for you and your business? I would feel motivated, not burnt out. I can pick and choose my clients, absolutely. I'd have more freedom, I'd be able to grow, I'd be able to scale, I'd be happy. Cool. Well, I'd love to let you in on how we go about doing that. What I want to do today is create something that's been really successful for my business, but more specifically our clients. And our clients are all like you. They're creatives, they're agency owners, and they want more freedom. They want more fulfillment in the work they do. They want to grow, they want to scale, and ultimately they want to have more impact. And so one of the most powerful tools that we use when we're helping our clients to do this is something that we call the irresistible offer. And this is slightly different. You might have heard Chris talk about the irresistible offer before. You might have heard people like Alex Hormozy talk about $100 million offers. This is kind of similar, but most people, when they're talking about the offer, they're talking about your core offer, the thing that you sell. Right? What I want to do is actually reverse this and take this a step back. So this irresistible offer that I'm going to get you to build is before anyone's actually done business with you. This is not about your core product. This is not about making what you already sell more irresistible, because I bet that most of you, when you get on a sales call with your clients, can communicate a decent amount of value. And most of you, when you get on a sales call with your clients, probably do all right, and you probably get a decent conversion, right? So what I want to give you is a way to just get way more conversations with people who are potentially a good fit. What I want to give you is a tool that allows you to go out to people rather than relying on people just coming to you, you to go out to people and approach people from a space of value and from a place of giving and something that doesn't feel salesy and spammy, and have loads of people go, this is awesome, and then you get to handpick out of those people who you want to move to the next stage with. So the irresistible offer, from our perspective, is actually something that sits way further down the sales process at the top end of the funnel. So this is something that you're actually going to be using to attract more people to starting conversations with you to generate more leads. So if we're going to build an irresistible offer that attracts people to start conversations, to essentially express an interest in working with us, there are essentially kind of three big ideas that we really need to embed in our business, in our culture with our team, but also like as a mindset. The big idea that I want you guys to get here is to remove the risk, right? We live in a very risk-averse market, especially right now, and we need to try and reduce that risk as much as possible for people, okay? So remove the risk, right? Think about any time, how many of you have either seen an ad or got a message in your inbox, which basically says like, hey, we can do all of these things for you. Just jump on a call with us and we'll show you exactly how to do it. How many of you have had one of those ads or got one of those messages in your inbox in like the last week or so? Yeah, cool. Why don't you jump on the call? It's intrusive, it's annoying. Yeah, it's a naff offer. What are you actually worried about? Getting hard sold? Yeah. Yeah, you're worried about wasting your time. Yeah, too many of those calls are not enough time, right? 100%. So what that actually is about is it's too risky for you, right? What you're risking is you're risking your time, or you're risking some kind of like ego or something where you've been made to feel uncomfortable, or you don't trust yourself not to just say yes, or whatever it is that you don't want to be sold to in that process, right? It's too risky for you. So we want to eliminate the risk and amplify the reward. And I'm going to show you some ways that we can do that. So the first big idea I want you to get is that we need to remove the friction. We need to remove the risk for our prospects and our potential clients. The second big idea I want you to get is that we need to give before we ask. So we need to get into a mindset of giving rather than asking, because most people, when they market their business, what they're actually doing is they're asking people to do something. They're basically saying, the ask is basically, hey, does anybody need this thing that we sell? Or hey, does anybody know someone who needs this thing that we sell? And it's all about asking. It's all about, hey, would you like us to do this? Hey, here's a problem, we can solve it. You just need to pay us this amount of money, right? There's a big ask up front. So I want to flip your thinking in terms of giving. And there's actually something that's been quite well studied around gifts, especially when it relates to sales and business, and it's known as social exchange theory. And basically, it shows that when we give someone something, it makes them like us. It makes them more likely to have a conversation with us. It makes them more likely to tell our friends about them. We actually gain social status. The more we give, the more we get, as the saying goes, right? And think about it yourself. How do you feel if someone you don't know very well gives you something that's genuinely really valuable or genuinely something that you want, and they don't ask a lot in return? How do you feel about that person? Yeah, you feel great about them. Yeah, you trust them. Yeah, you want to give them something back, or you want to tell others about them. Yeah, you feel appreciated. You feel like you should give back. Totally. So this is the concept around give before you ask. And it's actually can be really transformational for your business in a couple of ways. Number one, it's quite addictive. Who here has ever like done volunteering or like done something for charity before? Yeah, how does it feel when you do that and you see the response that people give you? How does it make you feel? Yeah, it makes you feel great, right? It's quite addictive. Yeah, it feels great. Feels like you made a difference. How would you feel about sales if you brought that emotion of giving into your business? How would it change how you showed up to your business, do you think? Yeah, pumped, like you want to do more. So the more we give, the more we get. And then the third big idea I really need you to get if we're going to build an irresistible offer is that we want to stretch the gap. And when I say stretching the gap, what I mean is the gap between where our prospects are now and where they want to be. See, most people out there, they don't actually realize the size of that gap. They just think they want a brand refresh. They just think they want a new logo. They just think they want some new headshots. They just think they need an animation or whatever it is, right? Our job as creatives is to stretch that gap, to actually get them to see the whole picture and to really get them excited about what could be possible and really help them understand what needs to happen to get them from A to B. So we want to stretch the gap and we want to give them some clarity. If you've ever done something where you think you have one problem and then you go and start fixing that problem and then you meet someone who's like an expert at that thing and they show you that you're kind of going in the wrong direction and actually the thing that you should be tackling is over here and this is what it looks like. That's what I mean by stretching the gap. People come to you and they say like, or they think the problem is that their website isn't good enough or isn't optimized or whatever, right? Stretching the gap is about showing them that actually that their communication isn't consistent, their branding isn't consistent, their strategy is wrong. Like it's actually showing them the bigger picture and stretching the gap so that they can see that the problem they have probably isn't actually the problem that they need to be focusing on right now. So it's as much about clarity as it is about showing them that there's a bigger problem out there to be solved. Because one of the things I learned early on in business, and I think Daniel Priestley says this quite succinctly, which is people don't pay big money to solve small problems. So stretching the gap is about really showing people the size of their problem and showing them what that fully looks like. Let's just dig down a little bit more into this concept of removing the risk. So I want you to think about every single action that a prospect takes is always a balance between risk and reward. So I used that example earlier of you see an advert, it promises you the world, all you've got to do is jump on a call with this person, right? And a few of you said, the reason I don't do that is because I don't want to be hard sold. A few of you said, I don't want to waste my time. Whatever it is basically the risk is way bigger than the reward. And this works at kind of every stage of business. And so I find the best kind of, we call them marketing funnels, but the best customer journeys, the best way to take someone from not knowing who you are to becoming a long-term client is where those steps are easy. And there's at every stage of that process, there's a clear benefit and it's very low risk. And so essentially the irresistible offer is the first point for that. So the more reward you can front load, the more you can give up front, and the easier you can make it for people, the more people are going to want it, right? And so what we want is we want a market of our ideal clients, of our prospects, essentially raising their hand saying, this thing is awesome, I want it. That's really all our irresistible offer is designed to do. It's just getting lots of people to raise their hand to say that they want this thing. So we want to try and remove the risk as much as possible, and we want to try and amplify the reward. So everything that you're doing in your marketing should be around this at every single stage of your prospect. How do we reduce risk for people and how do we amplify reward? So what is risky? Think about it, right? You've already said a few things. Well, time, I don't want to waste my time. It's risky if I have to invest a lot of money up front. What about if I invest money and this doesn't work? What about if I put lots of energy into this and it's a waste of time and energy? The fourth thing that like a lot of people don't think about is actually status, right? If this messes up or this is not what I think it's going to be, how will I look to other people or how will I feel in myself? And basically people want to avoid looking like an idiot. And unfortunately, a lot of this marketing, and I see it all of the time, it's like you'd have to be a bit of an idiot to do this. And people don't want to look like idiots. So our irresistible offer needs to be designed in a way that actually amplifies people's social status. And if you look at a lot of the kind of, let's call them sticky software products, whether it's like Instagram Twitter or whatever it is, these things that like people are obsessed with, even with the AI stuff, I think a lot of the AI stuff is actually based around social status. Look how cool this is. I showed you this thing. Look how cool this is. Look what I got this AI to do. Right? I think a lot of the appeal of this and a lot of the reason why it's so easy for people to do and to take on is because if you think about it, right, there's a little chat prompt and you just have to ask it a question and it does a load of cool stuff. Think about how low risk and high reward that is as a concept, right? And if you look at a lot of the most kind of viral or successful products and services out there, what you'll notice is that that first point of entry is always very low risk and high reward. So we want to do our best to minimize these things as much as possible. Remove the risk and amplify the reward. That's the thing that we're going to do when we build this offer together, which we're going to do in a minute. Cool. So give before you ask. Really, like the reason this is important, the way that we want to do this is we want to demonstrate value up front to people, because that's one of the ways that we can remove risk is we can just show them actually that we can solve this problem. Right? We can give them something up front. People buy from people they like. People buy from people they trust. So the more that we can do that up front, the easier it's going to be for people to buy from us. Really that simple. And ultimately, it eliminates sales fear. Because if you think about it as a prospect, what's your number one concern? As a prospective client of somebody that you don't really know, like, or trust yet, what's your number one concern? Ilya says, wasting time and money, wasting time, will it work? Can they deliver? Yeah, basically, I'm going to give you time, money, and energy, and I'm not going to get back what I want and need from this thing. That's most people's like primary concern when they're buying something which is high value. And so what we need to do is we need to front load this as much as possible, because the more we give, the more we eliminate risk, the more we start to build trust, the more people start to like us, the more people start to see us as an authority, and it totally changes that buying environment. It totally changes how people feel. They start to relax into the process, and you will feel this yourself. If you've ever gone through this process with someone, if you've ever been sold to by someone who's really good at sales, who's like a really genuine salesperson, you'll feel this yourself. You'll be resistant, and then the more they start to give and the more you consume and the more you see, and you start to kind of relax into it and trust it, and then the scales flip and all of a sudden you're chasing them, right? I want this thing, how do I get it? How do I work with you? And so that's what our irresistible offer is designed to do. It's designed to get people chasing us rather than the other way around. Cool. So the final thing that I want to talk about is how we stretch the gap. And so when I talk about the gap, what I'm really talking about is the two islands, Island A and Island B, right? So Island A is where your customers or your potential customers and your prospects currently are. This is where they're sitting, and this is where they're trying to get to. And so our job with our irresistible offer is to show them this picture and show them what's really going on. Get them excited about Island B. Get them excited about what's possible when they get this thing right. And really have a bit of a reality check, like I did at the start of this presentation. Really have a bit of a reality check about where they are now. What are the hard truths about this thing? What are the hard truths about this industry? What are the hard truths about technology? What do they need to really know and understand about where they are right now? Okay, so when I say stretch the gap, what I'm really talking about is this gap here between where they are now and where they want to be. The more we can stretch that, the more market tension there is, the more desire there's going to be to actually take action and move forward. So your irresistible offer should do three things. Number one, it should get them clarity on their problems, right? It should really help them get clarity on what's keeping them stuck. What is the thing stopping them going from A to B? Second thing it should do is really show them what does it cost if they don't fix this? What does it look like? How much money are they leaving on the table? What does the future of their business look like? And then we're actually going to tell them how to fix it. What does the bridge look like? We're going to give them a high-level overview of the solution. And I know a lot of you here will really worry about Well, what about if they just take this and go away and do it themselves? And as service providers and as creatives, we've got to get over that fear, right? Because yes, you might want some people to do that, 100%. But ultimately, there's always going to be a percentage of your market that are never going to become your clients no matter what you do. And so worrying about them is just a waste of time and energy. We want to worry about the people that we can actually help, that are willing to part with money, that are willing to part with some time and energy to actually implement this and to work with us to get this result. And you're going to get a bunch of people, just like Chris has 2 million subscribers on his YouTube channel, but he doesn't have 2 million clients, right? There are people that are going to watch those videos and they're never going to pay Chris a penny. And he's made peace with that, and that's why he does it. And that's why he just gives so much value up front, right? Because he knows there's enough people in there that he can make a successful business from. And he also knows that there's people out there that are gonna be just getting value from his YouTube videos, and that's probably a great feeling. So the more we can give, the more we get. And so I really want you to shift. I know you're all experts in your field. I know you're all really good at what you do, but we kind of need to have a bit of a shift in thinking that we need to start giving, that we need to start making it easy for people to find out more about us. We need to start making it easy for people to know, like, and trust us. Because I can tell you, I know that most of you don't. Right? Here's all my amazing work. Here's all the great stuff I've done with people. Get in touch. Ooh, that's risky, right? And even when I do get in touch, I've got to fill out a form and I've got to do these things, and then I put a thing in, then I've got to wait for you to get back to me, and then I'm just hoping that we're going to have a conversation and you're not going to be really hard, salesy, you're going to be a nice person, I'm going to enjoy working with you, right? So we really need to make it easy for people to know, like, and trust us. We need to make it easy for people to get value. We need to make it easy for people to say, I want this thing and I know exactly what I'm getting. So the final point I'm going to make about stretching the gap is I think I would call it a fable, but it's like a little story, and it's called For Want of a Nail. Well, before I tell it, how much would you say a horseshoe is worth? What range of dollar value would you put on a horseshoe? $5, $5, 500, 45. Yeah, so total range and prices, right? So I don't actually know where this like proverb originated from, and I think I saw it on a sales training somewhere years ago. But it's really simple. It's really short, and it goes something like this: for want of a nail, the shoe was lost. So yeah, that's it. It's not even how much is a shoe. There's one step back from that. It's how much is a nail worth, right? So how much is a nail worth? And most people will say like 10 cents or something. So for the want of a nail, the shoe was lost. For the want of the shoe, the horse was lost. For want of the horse, the rider was lost. For want of the rider, the battle was lost. For want of the battle, the kingdom was lost. And all from the want of a nail. So stretching the gap is really about helping people to understand the longer term consequences of not fixing the problems that they have right now. So when someone says, how much does a website cost? Or it's just the logo, our job as creative service providers and creative problem solvers is really to help people see how much a nail is worth. And the nail is the thing that's going to fix the problem in their business. The nail is the problem that you are in a unique position to solve. So enough talking and context and slides for me. I'd love to get you guys to do some work. So there's a few things that we've got to get you to do in order to really create the most irresistible offer. And I can call these the foundations. Now, some of you hopefully know some of this already, so it won't take you too long. For those of you that maybe need a little bit more time, I'm going to put some time on the clock and we're going to be able to think about it. And we're going to look at our ideal clients. So the first thing we need to get clear on is the who. Who are we actually going to be making this for? Who do you want to start more conversations with? Who would this be most valuable for? And the more specific we are, the more powerful this is going to be and the easier it's going to be. So right now, if your kind of customer avatar is small businesses, we need to go a lot deeper with this. We need to get really, really specific. So you're going to make this for like the marketing manager, or you're going to make this for the MD, or you're going to make this for the HR manager, or whoever, like who's the person that you actually want to be speaking to. So I want you to think about someone specifically when we're going through this exercise. Now, recently I've been playing around with ChatGPT because it's a lot of fun. But one thing that you can actually do is you can cheat a little bit. So you can actually ask ChatGPT what some of these frustrations might be, and it will probably give you some high level ideas. So if you're really stuck with this, I would suggest that you go and do that, or you go and talk to someone who knows how to use it well. And you can literally just say to it, for example, we work with creative agency owners who have teams between 2 and 10 people that are generating at least 150,000 a year and want to scale past 7 figures. Tell me the top 3 frustrations that they have on a daily basis, and it will actually spit out some pretty accurate ideas. So if you're struggling with this, or you need some help, I would cheat and use ChatGPT. And I want you to go and think about your ideal client, and you're really just going to discuss some of these points. So their frustrations, what keeps them awake at night, what is not how they want it to be right now. And we're going to talk about this, and in the workbook, you're actually going to go and you're going to list their top 3 frustrations here. And then on the flip side, you're going to list the top 3 things that they want. You're going to talk about what do they ultimately want? What are they ultimately trying to achieve? If they had a magic wand, what would they change? So these questions, by the way, on these slides are just kind of prompts. If you want to write some of them down or you want to take a screenshot. So if there's anyone here that's kind of feels like they're still trying to narrow down their target audience or niche, there's a couple of big ideas that I just want you to get. Number one is that like your target isn't your market. What I mean by that is we're using this piece of collateral, let's call it. We're using this asset to attract certain clients. So think about who your ideal client is, someone that you've either worked with in the past, that you've really enjoyed working with, someone that you'd love to work with in the future, someone that you know a bit about, and really design this thing for them. Don't worry about this is what your whole business now has to be focused on. We're not getting that granular. We're literally just focusing for this particular asset, right? So your target isn't your market. Who you're targeting here isn't the entire market that you have to address. You don't have to niche your whole business down, but the more specific this thing is, the more successful it's going to be and the easier it's going to be for you to market it. The other thing that I would just kind of touch on and talk to you all about is if you feel like you don't know them that well, or that you just kind of need to get into their heads a bit more, just have more conversations. So clarity comes from conversations, right? If you really don't know this, or you just kind of feel a little bit lost, then just go and like reach out to previous clients that you've worked with. You're like, actually that was quite a cool client. Would I like to get more of them? And if the answer is yes, then great, go and build something and go and design something around this, right? But essentially what we want to do is we want to map the gap from where they are now to where they want to be. And as you guys can see, I majored in art. Now, we're not trying to solve the whole problem, and we're not delivering anything with our irresistible offer. Our irresistible offer sits up here, and its job is to give people clarity on this. So there's a question that I ask, which I think is really going to help you to actually decide what you want to do. There's a few questions that I ask. The first one is, imagine you only had 30 minutes with your ideal clients. What would you actually do to help them get clarity on their problems? So just imagine that they've actually said, yeah, I definitely want to work with you. Yeah, I want you to help me, right? And you only had 30 minutes, what would you do? Yeah, ask a bunch of questions. If you would ask them a bunch of questions, what questions would you ask them? Note them down. And then I would probably use those questions in something like a scorecard. And I'm gonna talk in a minute about what specifically we're gonna build. I'm gonna give you all a bunch of options. Okay, cool. So you have a scorecard, right? So your scorecard can be your irresistible offer. What I would use today is basically making it more irresistible. So how do we generate more leads through our scorecard? Well, that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna make it, right? We're gonna make this more resistible. Another good thing to think about, and like the more you can do this, the easier and the like better people are gonna respond, is think about when you actually sign a client. when they say yes, they want to move forward with you, what's one of the first things that you actually do with them? Maybe it's like an audit. Maybe it is a workshop where you help them to really get clear on their brand tone of voice or the audience persona that they're targeting or something like that, right? What's the first thing that you do when you actually start working with the client? Now, all we're going to do is we're going to bring that to the forefront of our marketing. And we're actually going to start offering this for free or low cost, which a lot of people have some resistance to because they're like, I don't want to work for free. But just remember, we get to pick and choose who we do this for, right? We're not just offering this to anyone that walks past. We're deciding who we let into our shop. So I'd love you all just to spend 5 minutes right now brainstorming some of these questions and coming up with some things that you could use as your irresistible offer. And they don't have to be fully formed right now, but just some ideas. I'm going to put 5 minutes on the clock. I just want everyone to think about these questions and come up with some ideas of what they can use as their irresistible offer. And we're going to refine these together. So don't worry about if it doesn't feel perfect. We just want to be directionally correct. I just want to share some higher level ideas with you, okay? These are some things that you could choose from. We're going to be talking about some ways that we can frame this, and we're going to be coming up in the next 10-15 minutes when we wrap this workshop up. What we're going to be doing is we're going to actually be giving this a name, and we're going to be giving it a description so that you can test this and see how many people want it. Giving strategy away is absolutely fine. Some kind of guide or report that, like some of you have already mentioned, could be a checklist, which is also a good one. Ilya mentioned before, a workshop or a mini workshop like someone mentioned, could be a mini free course, could be some consultancy. We had a client that was a marketing consultant a few years ago, and one of the ways that we really helped him grow his business was once every week, he just said that he was going to go to his local co-working space and he was going to run 30-minute free marketing strategy sessions. Most weeks he got between 6 and 8 people signed up. And from those 6 and 8 people, he would usually get between 1 and 2 clients, which were worth about 4 to 5K for him. So we grew that really quickly just through this concept. It could be a tool or a template. Obviously, depending on where you're at in your business, these things are kind of less scalable because they require your time. And these things are a lot more scalable, but sometimes you've got to think about that balance of risk and reward. So, a tool or a template is quick, but how much value can they get from it? So how much do you actually want to put into that to help people get clarity on those problems? I want to give you guys a few examples, and the reasons I want to share these, and the reason I think that these are really powerful, is because these are a few examples of some of our clients who are in what I would call very risk-adverse industries. So the first example, few and far, Tom and Cole, they run a web design and development agency, and their target clients, their ideal clients, are charities. Now, typically charities have quite low budgets or tight budgets. They have to be very strict on how they spend their money. And really, it's kind of a risk-averse and quite a time-poor industry. So they created 2 versions of their irresistible offer. The first one was kind of generic, so it was more of a PDF type guide. And the other one was bespoke. So they actually went and with the people that downloaded them, if they thought they were their ideal clients, they actually went a little bit deeper and they gave them a bespoke guide. And specifically what they're selling and what they're helping charities to do is to create more impact with their charity, because through lots and lots of conversations, that's the one thing that continually came out of that conversation was those charities wanted to have more impact. And around that specifically is they wanted to get more donations from the right kinds of people. And so this irresistible offer was really, really powerful. And some of the things that it allowed them to do is they actually got booked up for 6 months in advance. They put this irresistible offer out and they got enough people where they were booked up 6 months in advance. They got 3 long-term clients from it, and they got about 10 or 11 shorter one-off clients. So this is a really good example of how they got a huge inbound, a huge influx of leads and inquiries in a very risk-averse market. Goodwill Studios, this is Will, he's a designer. He does design and branding, and he also works in quite a risk-averse market, which is not-for-profits, so kind of similar to charities. And one of the things that he created was a brand audit, but specifically, it was actually a kind of workbook for these not-for-profits that would help them to find their tone of voice. Because one of the things they said they really struggled with in their marketing was their tone of voice. So what I want you to get from all of these examples is that really listen, what I'm telling you is the thing that they're creating for their irresistible offer is directly related to the outcome or the challenge that their ideal clients have. And it's really important that your irresistible offer isn't just generic, okay? So I've got another example here from Pippa, because I know photography is quite a hard thing to do this with. And Pippa has got a brand scorecard where she basically says what personality type are you and what kind of images would work best with your personality and with your brand, and people fill that out and it gives them a kind of character type, and so they get to see who that is and how they use images in their branding, and it's a really powerful tool. But ultimately, we need to make sure what we're creating. So look at the thing that you've just typed in the chat and ask yourself, how quickly could people get this thing? So obviously if it's a guide, people can download that pretty easily. They can go and put their email address in. But how quickly can they get clarity? Do they have to read a long 20, 30 page guide, or can they get that quite quickly? And just on the topic of speed, I want to give you a really quick example. So one of the things that I did as my irresistible offer when I first started doing this was I gave a free copy of my book. Now, one of the bits of feedback we got from people was, it's really valuable because you're giving away a free book, but it's also a lot of stuff to read. And so I've read a few chapters, but I haven't really got through it. So what we decided to do is we decided to create a scorecard with the book where people would answer about 10 or 15 questions, and based on those answers, it would tell them which chapters to read of that book based on their specific problems and challenges, right? So we are making it a lot quicker and a lot less friction for people to get value up front, because it's not requiring as much time, effort, and energy to get those insights. Second thing is it needs to be free or low cost. We need to remove that barrier to entry, right? And it needs to have a clear outcome and a clear benefit. So last 10 minutes, what we're gonna do is we're gonna test yours, and we're gonna help you to come up with a kind of hook, a tagline that actually demonstrates what the outcome is. What do people get from this audit? What do people get from this workshop? What do they get from this calculator or whatever you're building, right? Because this is the main mistake that people make when they're building their irresistible offer, is they don't give it a clear outcome and they don't say who it's specifically for. So people don't bother. And then the final thing is, if you can make it enjoyable and easy to do, then this thing is gonna fly like hotcakes. Okay, so try and put your irresistible offer through this test. And if you wanna watch this recording back, you wanna capture this slide, continually ask yourself, could I make it quicker for people to get these insights? Could I make it quicker for people to get this clarity on my problem, right? Could I reduce the cost, remove the cost, make it free? Is there a clear outcome? Is there a clear benefit? And will people have fun actually doing this? I really want to emphasize, we are not delivering the solution here, okay? And this is really important to the last part of this, where I'm going to pre-frame and get you guys to come up with some ideas and some hooks, and we're actually going to get you to test this right now. So don't deliver the solution. We're not saying to people, we're going to work for you for free. We are not saying that. We're not saying, hey, I'm going to go and do some animation or some design for you for free. This thing is designed specifically to help you get clarity, help your prospects get clarity on their problems, on the path forward. Okay, so you're going to show them how to do it, but you're not going to do it for them. Really important distinction. So right now, here's what I want you all to do. I want you all to give this a go of crafting a hook. So what are people actually going to get when they do this thing? And there's 3 kind of examples of hooks that I've given here, and I'll just quickly talk through them. So these are some hooks that work really well. How to get a specific result that your client wants without the frustrating thing that they think they have to do in order to get that result, even if the obstacle that maybe stopped them already. So let's remove the industry really quickly. So let's say I was a personal trainer and I wanted to create a hook, an irresistible offer. I might create a guide, I might create a scorecard, I might create a workshop which shows you how to get your perfect beach body without, let's say, giving up pizza, even if you hate going to the gym. So if you're trying to get in shape this summer, how irresistible is that to you right now? How to get your perfect beach body without giving up, yeah, I'm in, Anita, without giving up pizza, even if you hate going to the gym, right? You don't have to make it that complicated, but this formula here typically is the formula that I find gets the most I'm ins. And by the way, we have to be realistic. So I actually took this from a PT that had this, right? And at first I was like, oh, it sounds too good to be true. But he had actually found a way to do this. It was really cool the way that he did it. So by the way, I'm not suggesting that your irresistible offer gets this result for people. I'm suggesting your irresistible offer tells people how you can get this result. Big difference, right? So if you download this and as a PT and it shows you how to get this, how likely or how much more likely are you to go and work with this PT over another PT? If he's giving you the secret formula, or she's giving you the secret formula to get your perfect beach body without giving up your favorite food, even if you hate going to the gym, you're probably way more likely to work with that person, right? Second thing is just how to get the result in a specific time period. So how to get a queue of ideal clients lining up to do business with you in the next 90 days. So I could have that title as this workshop, for example, right? Or how to get a queue of your ideal clients without ever making a cold email or without ever having to run paid ads. So here's what you're going to do right now. You're going to pick your favorite social media platform, the one that you have the most engagement with, the one that you are most active on, so either LinkedIn, Instagram, Twitter, whatever, and you're going to put this out. And you're just going to say, I'm thinking of creating whatever it is, a scorecard, a checklist, an audit, a workshop, whatever you're going to choose from that list, which shows you how to, so in Ricardo's case, it's going to be sell more products without spending a single cent on ads. And then you're just going to ask people to comment below if they would like to get a copy of it. So I'm putting a guide together which shows product-based businesses how to triple their sales without spending a single cent on ads. Would you like me to send you a copy? Question mark. Would you be interested in reading this guide? Question mark. And the reason we're doing this is because what I don't want you all to do is to go out there and do the creative thing that we all do and go make loads of stuff that nobody wants or needs. Because that is a waste of your time, money, and energy, right? What I want you to do is go out there and create something that you know you already have demand for. And the best way to do that is to use a post like I just mentioned. And the best platform to do it on is the one that you enjoy using and that you have the most engagement with. If you really feel like you don't have any following on social media, then my next thing would be to go to previous clients, people you've worked with, to actually send people direct messages and just ask them. Be like, hey, we work together. I'm thinking about putting this guide that shows you how to do this. Would you download that? Would you be interested in it? Would you like me to send it to you? And only when you've got 10, 15, maybe 20 people who have said yes, should you go away and create that thing. And if people say no, then just keep going with this formula until you get enough yeses. And I promise you, you will get yeses. Yeah, it can be a poll on LinkedIn, totally, or it could just be comment below. Totally up to you. You could try different ones. But if you notice, if you go to my LinkedIn, we do this all the time, right? We're just constantly testing ideas before we actually go away and build that thing. We do it with our clients, we do it with prospects, and it's really easy. Anyone even just likes the post, you can just send them a message and say, hey, I noticed you like my post. Would you mind if I asked you a few more questions? What was it that sounded appealing to you about that thing? There's actually an opportunity to start some conversations and get clarity around this offer until you make it something that is totally a no-brainer for people. And I promise you, if you have something like this, you will be like Tom and Cole, who sent me a message and they were like, literally, they are booked up until June this year with these audits, right? People saying, hey, I want this thing. And most of them, they're ideal clients. And they've already got 3 long-term clients from this process. Because here's the thing that I just want to end on today before I ask you kind of what part of this was most valuable. The idea of this is to get people to raise their hand and say that they're interested in the thing. The idea is not that you go out to your network and say, hey, by the way, I'm doing a brand audit, and anybody who says that sounds interesting, you have to do a brand audit for. You say to them, cool, tell me more about your business, and you will qualify them as a prospect. And if you don't think that you can help them and they're not going to be a good fit, then you don't do it for them, right? Because it's a waste of your time and it's a waste of their time. Because even if they get clarity, you can't help them. So the idea of this is to get people to raise their hands and say, hey, I want that thing. Then you can go and start a conversation because they've initiated that conversation saying, yes, I'm interested. So just before we wrap up today, I'd just love to know what part of this concept has been most valuable for you. What was your kind of takeaway from today's session? So please go out and test this, and don't be disheartened if the first thing you put out on social media gets tumbleweed, okay? Because it probably means that it's not quite on the right track. And there'll be one of 2 things happening. Number 1, it won't be clear who it's for. Or number 2, there won't be a clear outcome or benefit, right? So the more specific you get with who is this for and what problem does it solve, the better the response is going to be to this. I promise you what will be cool is you'll start some conversations with people, and you might even skip creating the irresistible offer and go straight to a sales conversation and create a new client. So if you'd like to dig down into some of these strategies a little bit further, then click the link below and you can apply for my live workshop, where I will be showing you behind the scenes of what's working for other creative agencies and giving you a custom roadmap to grow your business.